Kendra Andrews come out, and she's over at ESPN. And there's Alexa Philippou talking about the WNBA discussing a moratorium proposal that would apply to an upcoming league business, including free agency qualifying offers and core designations, which were set to begin as early as Sunday. Breanna Stewart said that while a qualifying offers may be going out, there's an understanding from all players that no one should sign anything because any contract signed would fall under the current.
She told them to walk away. Millions in life-changing money just gone. The biggest pay raise in league history. Rejected. Kendra Andrews reported the WNBA PA was discussing a moratorium, and Breanna Stewart, a towering figure, issued a shocking directive. No one should sign anything. This wasn't a suggestion. It was an order, freezing free agency in its tracks. Players were staring at contracts offering 5 or 6 times their current salaries, real money that could secure their futures. Yet they were told to completely reject it. Millions were left untouched, a financial wasteland created by a single seismic command, threatening the league's very future.
Clown show that is the WNBA, and as I always say, the gift that keeps on giving. We have to break this down as WNBA players are being advised to not sign any of these contracts that are about to be getting thrown out by these general managers around the league. This league is at a complete standstill. This is in.
The astonishing instruction came amidst discussions of a moratorium proposal intended to apply to all upcoming league business, including free agency, qualifying offers, and core designations, which were set to begin almost immediately. The players' union, however, advised a complete halt. Any contract signed would be under the old collective bargaining agreement, a framework that suddenly felt insulting compared to the new possibilities. Players for the first time had a glimpse of unprecedented wealth, only to be asked to turn their backs on it. The WNBA, poised for a victory lap, instead found itself at a complete standstill, an act of self-inflicted disaster nobody truly anticipated.
When it comes out of my mouth, every time it comes out of my mouth that you have players that are vice presidents of the players union for one league owning a different professional basketball league. It's just baffling. But nonetheless, we found out yesterday, I did a video, the NBA and WNBA, very smart. Very smart. We said, they came out, they said, you know what? We're under a moratorium here. Let's start.
But the controversy deepens far beyond mere contract disputes. The architect of this revolutionary strategy, a named vice president of the Players Union, holds another truly baffling position. She owns and helps run a competing professional basketball league. This isn't just a player activist, it's a direct conflict of interest of staggering proportions. One individual simultaneously representing the players' collective interests in one league, while running a rival operation designed to court those very same athletes. It's a situation so brazen, so intertwined, that it defies basic logic and sends a clear message about underlying dual motivations.
NBA players are stalemate, and they do not want to sign this CBA. I'm here to tell you guys the WNBA look like it's not going to be no more damn WNBA. I just got to be honest, man. The way these players are sitting around here not wanting to agree on a deal is beyond astonishing to me. I thought a deal would have been done, and as of right now, a strike is coming any day now. Either a strike or a lockout. Now, WNBA owners put out a report yesterday that stated that the owners want teams to move forward with free agency.
The WNBA owners, however, played their own chess move. Despite the union's stance, they ended the negotiation freeze and began sending out qualifying offers as reported. This wasn't an act of naive hope. The league knew full well these offers, based on outdated structures and smaller caps, would seem laughable compared to the figures being floated for a new deal. Yet it was a genius tactical stroke. By putting real numbers on actual documents with players' names attached, the argument shifted from abstract justice and solidarity hashtags to tangible math and personal finance. This subtle maneuver forced players to confront reality dollar by dollar.
So here it says, WNBA stars reportedly won't sign contracts until new CBA deal is agreed. Here it says the collective bargaining agreement. Let me pause this. Or maybe I can't. Okay, let me get this out the way. Whatever. The collective bargaining agreement passed on January 9th. Both parties reportedly remain far apart in their expectations for a new deal, and the early repercussions are being felt as stars reportedly won't sign new contracts.
This sudden shift in Battlefield exposed the raw vulnerability of mid-tier players. Imagine being a veteran, earning around $100,000, maybe less, playing overseas every offseason just to make ends meet. Your body never fully recovers, and you've endured a decade of underpayment while the league struggled. Now, with genuine life-altering money on the table, you're told reject it for the sake of abstract unity. Their frustration is palpable, their resentment understandable, yet, brutally, they are not the primary draw anymore. This segment of the player base became a silent victim, caught between impossible choices and conflicting loyalties.
I said this before, and I'll say it again. There's no CBA deal. The players don't want to agree to what the owners are proposing. Perfect. Grab Asia Wilson, grab Sabrina, grab Sophie, grab the superstar, the main attraction, Caitlin Clark, and let's start this league fresh. Get rid of all the old, bitter players that think they're entitled to something. Pay those 5 ladies and move on from scratch.
The league's explosion in popularity and ratings didn't stem from these long-suffering veterans, but from a new wave of talent. Rookies and second-year players, armed with built-in college fan bases, immense social media reach, and compelling rivalries, were driving the engagement. The casual audience wasn't tuning in for CBA negotiations. They were watching for the fresh faces and captivating storylines. Crucially, most of these click-driving, ticket-selling stars were still on rookie contracts, creating a terrifying thought experiment for the union. What if the league simply didn't blink? What if it just kept going without the veterans?
Our Madison Marie actually talked to former WNBA MVP, multiple-time champion Breanna Stewart at the Sports Illustrated Awards this past Tuesday. Let's go ahead and listen to what Breanna had to say.
I mean, it's really exciting for me to see how far the W's come. Like, you can see it just from a pure attendance and numbers standpoint, but also just the way that when I was a rookie, what we had to what we have now. And, you know, while we are trying to figure out the CBA negotiation, we don't ever forget where we came from, and we just know where we
The unspoken, brutal truth emerged. If the veterans decided to sit out, the WNBA could, theoretically, field rosters heavy on rookies and recent draft picks, and the ratings would barely flinch. The matchups people actually cared about, the names driving clicks and ticket sales, weren't necessarily the ones threatening to withhold their labor. This wasn't disrespect. It was a cold, hard assessment of market value, a reality check. The situation quickly began to feel less like a traditional labor dispute and more like a high-stakes game of psychological warfare, with the league holding a surprisingly strong hand, ready to call the union's bluff.
Now, under the current new agreement, the way it's looking, under the current old agreement, my apologies, the players are not going to sign any new contracts, but they will negotiate deals to possibly play for these new teams. Now, no reports has come out about players actually making a leap from their current teams to the new teams, but it's going to be very interesting moving forward. Now, today is January the 11th. On this day, we're supposed to have WNBA free agency negotiations happening today. Now, it's supposed to go on from today, I believe, till February the 6th. Now, as of right now, like I stated, we haven't got any update on any free agents.
Public opinion, initially squarely on the side of the players, began to waver. For about 10 days, the narrative was clear. Players deserve more. Pay them. But then came the theatrics. Inflatable props, protests, social media posts that felt less like negotiation and more like revenge fantasies. Casual fans started asking curious, not hostile questions. Why was a league that had never turned a profit being accused of exploitation? Why was the NBA's 3 decades of subsidizing losses never acknowledged by the player side? The carefully constructed narrative started to crack under the weight of logical inquiry, shifting the dynamic entirely.
Experiencing exponential growth, okay? The WNBA added the Valkyries this season, and they're adding 3 more teams in the next few years. Would you think that a league that is failing and not growing would be adding more teams or not? I would argue that they'd be adding teams, okay? Now, you say they lost $50 million last year, conceded that point. The NBA and WNBA have a new TV deal that's $2.2 billion. That's going to average around $200 million.
This erosion of public sympathy was amplified by the revelation that one of the loudest voices urging players to hold the line had an entire backup plan already funded and waiting in the wings. It became incredibly easy to reject a substantial deal when you were insulated from the consequences, possessing endorsements, ownership stakes, and alternative income streams. But for the majority of players, the sixth player on the bench, a delayed season directly threatened their rent, their future, and their limited window to monetize their body. The stark contrast in financial security began to poison the collective spirit of the union.
People wouldn't notice the difference. Nobody would say to themselves, oh wow, the talent has really dropped off this year. Nobody's going to be saying that. In fact, they'll be saying, wow, it's real calm this season. There's not so much complaining and whining going on this season. Start fresh with players that deserve money and with players that can push the league forward. Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA is by all accounts experiencing exponential growth. New teams are being added, with 3 more planned in the next few years. A new TV deal worth $2.2 billion is set to average around $200 million for the league alone. This reality directly contradicts any implication of a failing enterprise. While the league did report a $50 million loss last year, like the NBA, it took decades to become consistently profitable. The current dispute risks derailing this hard-won momentum, sacrificing a burgeoning future for a present standoff. The undeniable progress seemed to be an inconvenient truth for those advocating for the extreme holdout.
You know how many kids from college will graduate this year and their first job won't be $76,000 a year? And we're praying for basketball players? Basketball players who Caitlin Clark made millions in the college basketball game, will continue to make millions in the WNBA, even though it won't come from a salary from the Indiana Fever. State Farm and all these other people that have jumped on board with Caitlin Clark, Nike or whatever, she's going to make plenty of money for.
The core problem is that union strategies only work when everyone's incentives align perfectly. In this unprecedented situation, they do not. The league is betting on this fundamental fracture. Once just one person signs, the moral high ground collapses, the carefully constructed unity splinters, and the entire strategy implodes. Everyone else, not out of greed, but out of pure survival, would follow suit. The WNBA is patiently waiting for that inevitable moment, for the powerful temptation of $500,000 today to outweigh the abstract promise of more tomorrow. It's a ruthless gamble on human nature and individual need.
Would you be willing to sit out if negotiations don't work your way? Or
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously fighting the fight, and it's more than money. It's kind of all the things, all the benefits. It's getting a little bit loud in here, but making sure that we don't settle for anything less than what we deserve. So we hope that it doesn't come to that point, but also we know that the platform that we have as players is really strong.
They're not going to settle. They're not going to accept whatever the league is just telling them if it doesn't make sense to them. We're not going to do that to these women. All right? I hope the league knows that.
Breanna Stewart, speaking out, reiterated the players' stance. We don't ever forget where we came from, and we just know where we came from. She emphasized that they would not settle for anything less than what they deserve, leveraging the strong platform players possess. Yet, the irony is glaring. The players had in many ways already won. The numbers, the growth, the offers on the table all pointed to a new era of unprecedented pay and respect. But instead of cashing in and building on that leverage, leadership decided to keep swinging, convinced there was still a knockout blow waiting, a gamble with potentially devastating consequences.
Earlier today, I made a video making fun of people who are mad at WNBA players for protesting for more money. A lot of people said, Kev, you didn't even make an argument, so I will now. Here's what the WNBA players are asking for: a larger percentage of the revenue that the league generates. The main argument is that the WNBA is not profitable, therefore they should not be arguing for this. All right, let's take a look at that. And I'll agree with you. WNBA said they lost about $50 million last year. I can see that point. The NBA took about 25 years to become profitable, roughly 40 years to become consistently profitable. What helped the NBA attain profitability? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. That rivalry
This isn't just about salaries, it's about a ticking clock and a pile of unsigned contracts. Millions in potential earnings are being risked, and trust between players and management is under immense strain. A moment that should have been a triumph, a celebration of growth and opportunity, has morphed into a cautionary tale. When the dust settles, nobody will remember the protest props or the slogan. Instead, the focus will turn to the leadership, their priorities, and whether this era of WNBA growth becomes a solid foundation or collapses under the weight of an inflexible, high-stakes ego, leaving a messy legacy. The situation exposes the deep chasm between superstars and the rest of the league. Players like Caitlin Clark, already making millions through college endorsements from giants like State Farm and Nike, will continue to thrive financially regardless of her WNBA salary. Her personal financial security insulates her from the immediate consequences of a prolonged lockout or strike. But for the majority who lack those alternative income streams and high-profile endorsements, the prospect of a season evaporating is an existential threat, highlighting the vastly different stakes for different tiers of players in this high-pressure negotiation. The longer this dramatic standoff drags on, the worse it looks for those at the top, especially the ones with safety nets and alternative leagues waiting in the wings. The unspoken fear circulating throughout the locker rooms is potent. If players start signing, not only does the union's leverage vanish, but the spotlight will turn, and with it, sharper questions about conflicts of interest, true motivations, and whether this was truly about the collective good or individual positioning. This is how reputations quietly unravel, not through explosive scandal, but through relentless scrutiny and the uncomfortable spotlight of truth. Meanwhile, the league doesn't have to rush. They've skillfully shifted the battlefield, making this no longer solely a debate about whether players deserve more. Momentum is a fragile thing, and the WNBA finally has it. Ratings are up, attendance is soaring, media attention is at an all-time high, and new fans are actually learning rosters and storylines. Nothing scares away casual fans faster than the unsettling sense that a sport is about to disappear for reasons that feel messy, internal, and ultimately self-inflicted. The patience of the league, letting numbers speak for themselves, is a powerful weapon in this high-stakes negotiation. The real bitterness, it's theorized, won't come from the owners but from within the player ranks. At some point, someone will inevitably voice what everyone else is thinking, that it's easy to tell people to wait when you don't have to worry about your next paycheck. That solidarity feels very different when you're forced to choose between abstract principles and putting food on the table or paying rent. The movement, once united, starts to fracture precisely when it stops genuinely reflecting the immediate, urgent needs of the vast majority of its members. This internal dissent is the silent killer of unity. And right in the middle of this escalating storm sits the player who helped ignite it all. Her name keeps coming up, not primarily as a savior or a trailblazer, but as a significant complication. When fans and even fellow players begin to associate you with lost money and stagnant progress instead of earned gains, the shine fades quickly, no matter how immense your talent. This isn't about her undeniable skill, it's about timing, optics, and a potential overreach. It's about mistaking past influence for current immunity, assuming the room will follow you anywhere, just because it always has before. The genius of the league's counter strategy, sending out those qualifying offers, lies in its simplicity. It transforms the nebulous concept of injustice into concrete numbers. You can rally people around abstract injustice, mobilize outrage with slogans, but it becomes almost impossible to maintain unity when that injustice starts looking like a massive pay raise they're being told to actively reject. The argument isn't theoretical, it's a document with a player's name and a life-changing sum attached. This direct monetary confrontation bypassed all the rhetoric, hitting players where their immediate future resided. This whole saga, a moment of unprecedented growth and opportunity, didn't need to unravel this way. Millions of dollars didn't have to be risked, and the crucial trust between the players and the league didn't have to be strained to this breaking point. What could have been a collective triumph, solidifying the WNBA's place in the sports landscape, has morphed into a tense standoff. It forces a critical examination of leadership, priorities, and whether a burgeoning era of success can build a lasting foundation or crumbles under the weight of an inflexible high-stakes gamble. The outcome will shape the league for years. The ultimate decision, the one that will determine the fate of this season and perhaps the long-term trajectory of the WNBA, won't be made in public, amidst grand declarations or televised protests. It will be made quietly in locker rooms and living rooms, contract by contract, player by player, as reality steadily asserts itself. The weight of personal financial security against collective demands will push individuals to make choices. This silent unfolding drama is far more powerful than any public demonstration, and it carries the true potential for the movement's unraveling, one signature at a time. Because once the numbers are undeniable, once the league has officially placed substantial money on the table, pretending this dispute is still solely about symbolism becomes increasingly difficult with each passing hour. The emotional appeal of injustice weakens when the alternative is a significant personal windfall. This crucial aspect was, perhaps, the one part the union's initial strategy didn't fully account for. The power of a tangible offer, a concrete step towards life improvement, can often override the most passionate appeals to solidarity, especially when personal livelihoods and short career windows hang in the balance. When the dust settles, the question won't be about whether players deserved more. The offers themselves confirm that they did. Instead, the legacy of this moment will hinge on who accurately understood the fragile dynamics of leverage, public perception, and individual necessity. It will be a story about the complex interplay of collective action and personal survival, and whether a powerful leader overplayed her hand, risking a generation's progress for a gambit few could truly afford. The WNBA's future now hangs on a silent battle of wills, decided by the quiet individual choices made behind closed doors, away from the cameras.